Good evening and welcome to True Encounters. I'm your host, Marvin Allen. First, I would like to apologize for not uploading, but without further ado, we're going to get into this first encounter. Now, this first encounter, it happened somewhere in the South. Now, the location is unknown, and I didn't push the issue of trying to get them to tell me where it happened at. I was just happy to get that encounter so I can tell it to y'all. So let's go. This husband and wife wanted to get away for a few weeks. So the husband decided to go stay in their grandparents' cabin. So they get out there, they take their stuff in the house, they unpack it, their clothes and stuff like that. So after doing that, the husband said that he was going to go down to the tree house. The wife said, okay, I'm going to make something to eat. Just be back in time so you can eat. And he said, I will. And he said, I love you. And she said, I love you too. So he leaves out. He walks down. So when they get out back on their grandparents' property, it's a path at the edge of the tree line that leads down towards the tree house. He said, so while he walking down towards the tree house, he started to smell this strong urine smell. He said it was really strong. He said, so when he get right down there at the back of the tree, he noticed that there were bones from an animal scattered all over the ground. He said, and when he looked, he see these scratch marks in the bark of the tree. So he looking at these marks, and then he looks up, and he see marks. He said it had to be 12 to 13 feet up on the tree. He said, so whatever made them marks had to be real tall, but he don't know what could have did it. He said, because ain't no bears around here. He said, so he walks around to the front. He see more bones scattered around. So he looks up at the tree house. So he yells, if anybody up there, you better come out now, because I'm going to start shooting. He pulls a gun out, walking up. He gets to the top. He said when he gets to the top and he looks, he see the front door of this tree house all the way in the front of the tree house on the floor. So he walks in, gun in hand, cocked and ready. Say when he goes in, the same horrible ass smell. He smells it in here, saying that it's real strong. He said he looks at the wall. The walls is scratched all up with these claw marks all over the walls. He said he had like a love seat in there. He said and that was just ripped. Looked like somebody just sliced it with a razor. 4 razors. It was just ripped and all the foam. The foam and stuff was all over the place. So he's still looking. He said he could see spots in the floor, like urine spots. He said it was just too strong. He said that he just had to leave. So he leaves out the treehouse. He goes back in to tell his wife what he saw. So he tell his wife. So she said, you don't know what kind of animal could have did that? He said, baby, I don't know what's going to climb up a ladder and go inside and do that. He said, and that smell down there don't make no sense. He said, that's a horrible smell. So she said, what you want to do? You want to call the police or something? He said, no, I'm going to just see what happens. So they eat. They go out and sit on the porch for a while, just to catch the scenery in. And started getting dark. So she goes in. She makes them some sandwiches. They eat that, and they get ready to go lay down. They said, so after they go in the room, they looks at TV for a while. Said they finally wind up going to sleep. So he said at about 12:30, something woke him. So he popped up, he sat up in the bed. When he sat up in the bed, he looked towards the window that was in their room. He said he could see this huge dark shadow just walks real fast past the window. So he gets up. He gets up, grabs his gun. So when he grabbed his gun, because he opened the drawer, because that's where he kept it at, grabs his gun, his wife waits. And she said, baby, what's wrong? He said, I don't know, I just seen something go past this window. So he goes over to the window, he said he eased the curtain back. He said, now mind you, he said across from that window was this huge old tree. He said, so when he pulled the curtain back and he looks, he said he see these glowing yellow eyes. He said, but when he looking at these eyes, he said these eyes was high up in the air. So he calls his wife. He said, baby, come here. Hurry up, what is this? She comes over and she looks. He said, and when she looks, she screams. And he trying to tell her, hold up, keep the noise down, keep the noise down. He said, when he told her that, he said this thing stepped out. When it stepped out, now they could see this creature. He said this thing looked like a giant black wolf. He said the head on this thing was humongous. He said this thing had shoulders, it had arms with hands. He said, and they hung down in front of him. These long arms with hands. He said this thing had hands, whatever it was. He said, but the legs on this thing down the bottom was shaped like a dove. He said, so they watching this creature. So while they watching this creature, he said this creature tilted his head back and it started sniffing the air. Turning his head side to side, just sniffing the air. So while they watching this creature, the wife goes and gets back on the bed. She sits. So he said, baby, just stay right there. Don't do nothing. He said, so when he told her that and he turned back around, that creature started to walk towards the window. He hurried up and shut the curtain. So when he shut the curtain, the creature walked up to the window. He could see the dark silhouette, the shadow of this monster. He said, so they got up and went in the front room. So when they got in the front room, they stood. They just stood right there in the front room. He said that's when you heard this creature start scratching on the front door. Start scratching on the front door. So the husband told the wife, go get my phone. She goes in, grabs his phone, come back out. So he calls. So they waiting for the police to come out there, or sheriff. So after about 30 minutes, he said he could see the lights coming up. So when the lights come up, he had somebody get out the car door. Boom, they shut the door. Walks up and knock on the door. Opens the door, they let him in. Tells them, what's wrong? He said, I think somebody was trying to break in, my grandparents' cabin. He said, can you describe? And, they did the routine. He said, all I know is that they had on all black. So I couldn't tell you. So the wife was getting ready to say what she saw, but he nudged her. And the police said, you all right? You got something to say, miss? Did you see it? She said, no, I didn't see anything. So he took that statement and then he left. So the wife said, why you didn't tell him? Why you didn't tell him? He said, what am I going to tell him? That we saw a werewolf? And you think they're going to believe us? So, they left it as that. She said, look, I'm scared. I don't know what that thing was. We need to leave. Said, okay, if it start happening, constantly, then I promise, baby, we'll leave. So they stayed up the rest of that night. They didn't go back to sleep. So she said when daybreak came, she got herself together, washed up. Then went in there and they made breakfast. So husband said, I'm going to walk around the house, So he goes out there. And round where the window at, where that bedroom at, he said he could see scratch marks all around their window. I mean, dug inside the wood. I mean, it was like something just dug in there and just was scratching it. He said he saw partial prints. Not a whole print, but partial. He said, but these was too damn big to be a goddamn normal dog. And this dog walking around bipedal on 2 feet. Said so he leaves, goes down towards the treehouse. Said so when he go down towards the treehouse, he said he still smelling that same stinking ass urine smell. So he goes and he climbs up and he goes in the treehouse. Goes in there and he looks. Still the same way it was. He said, but this time over by the love seat, he said he saw this impression back there on the floor. Like something was laying there. So now he's saying to himself that this thing must have been sleeping in here. So he leaves, go out, go down, go back in, So his wife was finished breakfast, so he sat down and he ate. So he said after he ate, they went out and they sat on the porch for a while, While he was sitting there, he said he noticed that up in the tree line to the left, he could see some deers walking, towards their back on their property. Said it was 4 of them. She said, though, they come up and stood about 15 yards of where they were sitting at on that back little porch. He said, so they sitting there, just looking around. Said all of a sudden, these things' ears, boop, go straight up. Said they started looking left and right, just looking around left and right. He said, and these deers turned and bolted on the opposite side. I mean, he said them things was gone through the tree line, up in the woods. So, saying in his mind, what the hell spooked them? Wife say, you think that thing back? So he said, no, I don't see it, because I'm looking in the woods and stuff. So the wife say, well, I'm going to go in and I'm going to use the bathroom. So she goes in and use the bathroom. Now, mind you, the husband's still out there, still watching and looking. Now, he said after a few minutes, he could hear crack. He could hear sticks breaking. Boom. Boom. He said, but when he hear these sticks breaking, it's like somebody walking, stepping on them and breaking them. He said he looking, but he don't see nothing. But he's still hearing these sticks break. He said after a few seconds, he looks towards the treehouse. Now, mind you, it's a path that leads down to the treehouse. Treehouse sets on the right. He said, so he looking. He said that's when he see this creature steps from behind a tree and stood right there on this path. He said this thing was gigantic. He said this thing was, it shouldn't be something this tall lurking in the woods like that. Said, so he watching this thing. And this thing just standing there watching him. He said, so he gets up, ease out his seat, and he stands straight up. He said when he did that, this thing took a few steps and then it stopped. He said when it stopped, he said this thing, he never heard nothing like this in his life. He said this thing howled so loud. He said he could feel that thing in his soul. He could feel in his chest the vibration of it. He said it was powerful when this thing made that howling sound. He said, so after this thing made that howling sound, it just stood there and it still was watching him. He said, then this thing made another sound, but it wasn't a howl. He don't know what kind of sound it was, but it wasn't a howl. He said, when this thing made that sound, he said after a few seconds after that second sound, he see two more of these things coming from the left. And these things is walking on 2 feet. And they walks over there by him. He said one of these was a reddish brownish color. And the other one was black and gray. He said these things walked over and it stood over there by this other creature. He said all 3 of them now is watching him. He said after a while, these creatures dropped to all 4s. And they turned and went in the opposite direction of the tree line, in the same direction as them deers ran. He said that's when he got up and he went in the house. When he went in the house, he told his wife, he said, wife, I seen them again, and it's 3 of them. He said, we leaving in the morning. She said, okay, baby, I'm so happy, okay. He said they don't go out no more that night. Said they didn't even call the police again because he said they was leaving in the morning. But he said he wished he had because he didn't know these things was going to come back. He said so later on that night, after his wife made dinner and they ate, they sat in the front room, sitting there. He was reading a book. And he said his wife was on the computer. She said, while he's sitting there reading, he heard this noise. That. Said he heard this noise like something hitting the front of the window. That. So he was like, what the hell? So he gets up, goes to the window, pulls the curtain back. He don't see nothing. Thing come again. That. This time, he looks, sees a little pebble when it hits the floor of the front porch. He said something or something was throwing pebbles at the front window, like it's trying to get his attention, like it warned him to come out. He say, but he don't know what the fuck it was. So he tell his wife, he said, baby, get up and stand by the bathroom, right there by the bathroom door. Stand right there, baby. I don't want you in this front room. So he say he's still looking out this window. He said, now when he looking out this window, he say he see one of these creatures dart to the left side of their property in the back. So he watching. He say, he see another creature darts to the left side of their property, the same as the first creature. But mind you, he know it's 3. He done seen 2 already shoot on the left side of the property. Now he's still looking out this window. So he watching. He said then he see them yellow glowing eyes. To the right side of their cabin, it's like some shrubs over there. He looks over there to where these shrubs at, like these weeds that was growing over there. He said when he looked over there, he said he see those yellow eyes of something stooping down. He could see these big yellow eyes. He said these things look like tennis balls. He said these eyes was huge. He could see these big yellow eyes over there where those weeds that was growing at on the right side of their property. So he looking over there and he see these eyes and he see that this thing is squatting down. He said after about 30 seconds, he said this creature stood. He said this creature stood up. And when it stood up, it walked in the direction of where the first 2 creatures ran at. He said it walked. And when it walked, he said this creature stopped. Right there facing the window. He said these things are not dumb or crazy. He said these things are intelligent. He said this thing stopped at this front window. Like it knew I was peeking at it or watching it. He said, so he watching this thing. He said when this thing stopped to right there where that window was, he said this thing started to walk towards their house. He said when this thing was walking towards this house, man, he said this thing, he said he don't know if this thing had springs on. He said this thing jumped and it leaped clean up on that cabin roof. He said he could hear this thing walk around on the roof. Boom, 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 boom. He said this thing was literally walking on the roof. So he called his wife back in the front room. He said, baby, that thing walking on the roof, one of them. She said, I know, I can hear it. He said, we need to call the police and do something. He said, I'm ready to go. I can't wait till no morning. He said, okay, baby, all right, okay, let me think. So this thing walked to the back, then to the front, to the back, to the front, like it was taunting them. He said, so he walks back over towards that front window, but he can hear this creature walking back and forth. He said when this creature was walking from the back to the front, it stopped, it just cut off. So he looking out the front window. So as he looking out the front window, he just sees something. Like a shadow coming. Boom! And he said this thing lands right back in the front of their cabin. So he said when it did that, this creature turned around and looked at him. Because he know he there. He said this creature know he there. He said and this creature looked at him. He said when he looked at this creature, he said he could have swore with everything he loved that this thing smiled at him. And it turned and it walked in the direction of this other 2 creatures. So the next day, daybreak came, they packed up and they left. Man, like I said, man, these things out there, they everywhere. And when he told me they encounter, man, I was just so happy to get that encounter, just like I'm always happy to get all the encounters I get. But I told him, keep in touch, and I asked him, did you ever go back? He said he haven't went back since. So in a way, I don't blame him, because after you see these things once, you don't want to see them again, So I hope y'all like it. Give me some feedback. Let me know what y'all want me to do. If you heard an encounter on another iPod and you would like for me to tell that, then I will be more than happy to do it. But regardless, I still got new encounters for y'all. I'm getting ready to get ready, and I'm going to shoot another one to y'all tonight. So let me wrap this one up and get ready for the next one. Bye.